Hattie, and I am back with another speed build. So this time we're going to be building Taylor Swift's mansion. So this home is in Rhode Island. I'm not too sure of the destination of where that is, but I know that she bought it for around the mark of 17.5 million. The mansion itself is worth about 20 million, but she negotiated it down as far as I'm aware. So pretty good negotiation skills, I have to say. But this home is a really big house. I decided to build it in the Bluffs in Winterberg, and the reason why is because it's on a beach cliff, and I thought that this would be a perfect plot for it, really. And even though it is a little bit big, I didn't really want to build a mansion this large because it does take up a lot of my time. In fact, this mansion probably took me about 2 hours to build, which is actually quite a lot for a mansion. Usually it only takes me about 30 minutes to build a house, and that's just an average sized home. But yeah, this one was a big project. It used to take me a lot longer. In fact, the Great Gatsby mansion took me a really long time. I have built loads of big projects on the same plot though. So Hogwarts as well was built here, and lots of others. The Pirates of the Caribbean pirate ship, I built that here as well. So it is a really handy plot, but it is massive, and for time on a celebrity mansion, I didn't want to build it here, but I thought no, I have to, because I didn't want to use a 40 by 30 or anything like that, which would be probably too small. A 50 by 50 would have been perfect on the Bluffs, but unfortunately we don't have that, but oh well. So I was really trying to stick to the picture as much as I could, and I tried to make it as accurate as the build itself, which I didn't really do with Kim and Kanye's mansion, because the back of the build I made up entirely. Even though there were pictures on it, I just didn't feel like doing that. I just wanted to make my own ideas up, and I had so many ideas for the back of their house that I just wanted to try it out myself. But I thought for Taylor Swift's mansion, I would make it as accurate as possible, and I really did try my best. There is also no custom content in this build. I do get asked quite a lot if I use custom content in my creations, and I don't. And the reason for that is because I don't like to download things into my game which I'm not too sure about. So I try to stay away from that, and I have done so far in The Sims 4. But I do still get asked a lot if there's any custom content in my creations, but there never is. This is when I was trying to get the shape of the house, because that was very important for this build. It isn't the prettiest house from the outside, I have to say. I mean, I can imagine that it's absolutely gorgeous on the inside, but for me, I think that having a centerpiece on a house looks really pretty, but the windows are very spaced out on the front of it. But even so, I still think that this build does look quite nice in The Sims 4, and it does look like a typical beach house, which I really like the look of. What I was also trying to do was I was trying to get some sort of shape together with this really odd window, which is above the door. It's on the 3rd floor up, but I just couldn't find a good way to do it, so I think you'll see what I did with that eventually. If you're not sure as to what Taylor Swift's mansion does look like, of course you can look it up and let me know if you do, because you can even tell me if you think it looks like it and what I could have changed, if I could have done anything differently, because I do really appreciate constructive criticism. At this point, what I was doing is I was creating some conservatories, which I'm hoping will look really nice when it comes to doing the interior of the build. I want the interior to be very traditional, because when I was looking at the pictures of the build, it is a very traditional interior and it looks a little bit dated. And I thought that it would be a lot more modern, but it's not, and it surprised me. But I think it will look really nice for this house, and I'm hoping that I will be able to follow it as accurately as I can. But when it comes to doing the conservatories, I really want some nice big party areas, because for a party beach house it would be absolutely perfect. And for The Sims to have a massive party here, I think it would be the perfect house, especially with the amount of balconies and things. Even if you didn't want it to be a party house, you could have it for a really nice family house, and even having some really romantic screenshots of the balconies for The Sims would look absolutely perfect. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how the interior turns out, especially with the amount of balconies I used, because I think that if it's done correctly, then it could look really nice on the outside. What I was also doing is I was trying to create her humongous driveway, because almost every single mansion that I've ever seen belonging to a celebrity has a ginormous entrance. And I think for this build, I would really imagine the cars to be there that would belong to probably the staff that would work in this house. I would definitely imagine there would be cleaners, gardeners, etc., chefs coming here, and that's something that I would imagine to be pretty packed with cars. So Yeah, I think the driveway was definitely big enough. It's not the prettiest in terms of flowers and a fancy sort of build, because it's definitely not that. I wanted to keep it accurate, so that's what I decided to do there. And it does have a secret garden at the back of the build. That is something that I wanted to do, and I think that's because the first time I ever heard of Taylor Swift, it was when she sung Love Story, and from that song, that's why I wanted to do a garden which would be covered in flowers and would look very princessy, because that's what reminds me of Taylor Swift. So what I was doing at this point is I was putting around the lining of the build. I don't know how thick the lining actually is when it comes to the roofing, but I put it on anyway just because it's The Sims. And some things I did exaggerate, so bear that in mind. And of course, we didn't have the right tools for the roofing, and I just had to make do with what we had. It was actually really strange because when I was trying to paint the roofing a certain colour, I think that's what I call it, I don't know, but the original roofing, the horrible grey that we see, is actually very, very similar to how the roofing colour actually is on the house. But I did change it. I changed it to another one, but I still think that maybe I should have kept it like that, but I don't know. I'm always against using that roofing, and the reason is because it just feels like I haven't decorated it yet. It's like having drywall in a house or something. I just wouldn't do it, and I've just never done it. But I don't know. Let me know how you would feel about me doing a house in that grey sort of roofing. I don't know if I would. But anyway, what I was also doing is I thought it would be a good idea to wallpaper the whole house before I even started on the windows. And that was something that I wanted to do because sometimes I do forget, especially with white houses. It's very difficult to keep up to date as to when a wall is a drywall or it's a painted wall, because white and drywall looks really, really similar in The Sims 4. So I wanted to make sure it was all covered, all painted before I even started. And even around the back, I did actually have some mistakes, which I hopefully corrected. Of course, I was onto the windows. I decided to do the front ones because the front ones were the main ones I was going to use. It was really, really perfect because the windows that she has on her house are almost the identical ones The Sims 4. It's as if they were styled off her house. I don't know if they were, but they're absolutely perfect. And they're like French chateau windows, and they just matched identically. I mean, it just really reminded me of her house at this point. I was also trying to do her chimney. Now, there is a massive chimney at the front of the house, but I didn't want it to affect the gallery photo, so I actually had to move it slightly back, and that was because I thought the house itself would look really bad on the gallery photo. And it's a shame that we can't change the gallery photos yet. It's something that I would really, really like to be able to do in the future. We did have an option to have a tray importer a while ago, but unfortunately it clashed with EA's terms and conditions, so they took it down. But it would be nice to have some sort of method to be able to change the pictures, and that's something that I definitely missed. Please let me know in the comments what you'd like to see in the game. I mean, does it bother you that you can't change the photo? Are you fine with the way it is? Or would you like to be able to change it in the future? Because there are some discussions going on the Sims 4 forums. In fact, I did take part in a discussion, I think about a month ago, but nothing really happened in the end. And I don't know if the Sims gurus check the forums very much anymore. But anyway, this was when I was going around and I was putting in some white windows on the bottom of the house. So I did actually notice that on her home there are some white windows along the bottom, which I found really unusual, but I actually quite liked because it was quite quirky, and I would like to know if they got painted that way or if that was the general design of the house. I would actually really like to know that. And of course, I'd love to see the house close up. I don't know if I'll ever get the opportunity to. It would be very unlikely, but I'd love to. And I think I'd like to create more celebrity mansions. In fact, if you do want me to create more celebrity mansions, then please let me know, because I'm definitely up for doing it. And in fact, I did have a poll on Twitter, which I'm going to be doing with a lot of my creations at the moment. So if you follow me on Twitter, then you will be finding lots and lots of polls on there. And I take the polls very, very seriously. So depending on what you want to see and what you want to vote for, then you can vote and you can let me know what you want to see. And that's why I did actually end up building Taylor Swift's mansion in the first place, because that was decided on Twitter. It was actually really close between Taylor Swift's mansion and Jennifer Lawrence's mansion. I also put in Kylie Jenner's, and I can't remember who else. I was going to put in Selena Gomez, but then I changed my mind and I thought, no, that would probably be in the next lot of polls, and I'll do that at some other time or whatnot. Anyway, this was the back garden. So of course we don't see a lot of the garden because it's completely closed off, which I definitely understand. I do think it's important for celebrities to have privacy, and I do feel a lot of the time like it's invaded, and I would just feel really, really bad if somebody was coming into my garden and taking pictures all all the time. I don't know. I think I would. And I do feel sorry sometimes for them finding out that paparazzi have broken into their homes and stuff. And it's never nice. It's never nice to hear stuff like that. So I definitely respect the fact that every celebrity needs privacy, even though I am 100% rebuilding a house as I say this in The Sims 4. But anyway, I made it the back garden because I couldn't find any pictures of it, but yeah, that's absolutely fine. And the house itself, I think the only pictures that I saw of it, of the interior, were professionally taken photos. So what I would imagine is maybe before she moved in or after she just moved her stuff in there, that's when the pictures were taken. So yeah, this is when I was putting some trees around, so I didn't actually see any trees on her build or on her house. I've spent so much time on The Sims 4, I call every single property a build now. It's really frustrating. But anyway, so I didn't see any, and I definitely wouldn't imagine trees to be that close to the beach. I don't know, I've always thought that beaches are flat with not many trees, and maybe that's just because I'm used to going to beaches in tropical countries, and that would make a lot of sense. What I was trying to do here though is I was trying to pile up the bushes, because the bushes that she has at the front of her house are very, very tall. And I would imagine that maybe they would be just really, really high hedges. They would be a nightmare to cut. In fact, it always has puzzled me in the past when I've gone round to houses and they have been able to make really weird things with bushes. So like camels, like dogs, cats, I mean just sculptures, even men. How could you make a man out of a bush? It just absolutely puzzles me. And I don't know, I can't even cut my own bushes in my back garden because I actually have a garden with a bush fence, but I'm just gonna let it grow. I actually like the idea of having really, really tall bushes because it gives a lot more privacy to my garden. So yeah, but he's always puzzled me, and I find gardening just really interesting. I'd never do it myself, but looking at the talent that some people have when they are sculpting things like that, it just puzzles me. Same with ice sculptures. They are amazing, absolutely incredible. And I've only seen an ice sculpture once in my life, and that was when I went to Prague for New Year. And it was really odd because we went to a restaurant which we didn't even eat at, and there was one there, and we got like a special pass from the manager to go and sit on the balcony, and it was lovely. But it was very cold around the ice sculpture, and that's what I remember, and I don't know why that surprised me at all, but it did for some weird reason. I've also been to an ice bar which was incredible, and that was in London, so if anybody has ever been to that, that would be really interesting to know as well what you thought of it, or if you've been to something similar. And it was called Below Zero, I think it was, and you had to put on a special cape and you had to go in, and it was freezing, but it was so much fun. There was music, it was like a disco, or that's the best way I can describe it, and I went with my parents, funnily enough. But it was a great night out, and yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I would definitely go there again. In fact, London has so many tourist attractions. I love it. But anyway, this is when I was finishing off the front. Of course, by this point, I had done a lot of landscaping, and what I decided to do more than anything was use those big blue bushes. I thought they looked really pretty, even though the house doesn't have much of that around it, and that doesn't surprise me. I think if somebody sat Taylor down and said you can have any flower you want on your house and it will never die or you'll never have to maintain it, then maybe her house would look something like this. I don't know, but that's what I would imagine, because maybe it's just because so much effort would go into maintaining flower pots, etc. I have no idea. But yeah, the house itself doesn't have any flower pots on the windows or anything, but that was just what I imagined it to look like, and that's how I made it look prettier in The Sims 4. So that's why I did add that. But of course, if you did want a more realistic house, you could take the flowers out and you could have it like this. Now, there are some car parks around the build, but I couldn't remember where they were, so I actually put one here, and it made sense just to fill this bit up, because I was thinking about putting a maze there, but I thought no, and it would actually make a lot of sense to keep the cars maybe away from the staircase. Goodness knows how they would get up there in the first place, but that's what I was intending for. So I did actually put a staircase, because that is of course all you can have with elevating a building in The Sims 4. It's a shame, but I really do miss the terrain tools, and I hope we get them back with The Sims 4. But then again, it has been 2 years since the release date. That's crazy. But anyway, so this was the pool bit. I actually put a pool going all the way around the house, and this would be fantastic if your Sims wanted to learn how to swim or something, because this is a perfect place. In fact, this could even be a proper water park if you wanted it to be. Of course, we don't have that much to say it's a water park, but with the amount of water that's here, I would definitely imagine this to be a real water resort, and this could be a really fun place. Especially if we had seasons. I would love seasons. In fact, I've mentioned it a lot recently because I really want it. But if we did, and if we had a summer season, this would be perfect with the beach chairs outside, music, etc. It would just be wonderful. But yeah, so the pool is humongous as well. I actually put a pool on the top floor, and I was just figuring out what to put here because I wanted a DJ stand. I don't know if that would be accurate for Taylor's house. I don't know. I was actually reading, this is completely irrelevant, but I was reading about Paris Hilton being a DJ, and that really surprised me. But yeah, so I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, what would a celebrity have on the terrace of a really plain area on a house? And I thought maybe a DJ area. Even if it wasn't a permanent thing, it could be temporary and you could delete it if you wanted to. But maybe just for parties, things like that, then it would be a really cool way to do it. This was a hot tub hut, so I thought that would be a nice thing to put there. I actually wanted to have some roofing outside because I was feeling as if this area needed something there and it was just too plain without it, so that's why I decided to do that. I think this area did end up being quite nice, and I would imagine a large group of people all sat around here together, and that would maybe be the scene of the party. It could actually just be a hot tub party if you wanted it to be. But yeah, lots and lots of chairs there, and you can have them all in one place. I love the fact that we can do that with groups as well in The Sims 4. We can actually make the groups go to one specific location. I'm actually trying that out at the moment in my Let's Play with the pomegranates. That's something that I've just started to get used to, funnily enough. I tend to get used to things months after everybody else. So yeah, I'm a slow learner when it comes to Sims 4, but there we go. Anyway, I thought about a water fountain because I love the idea of having a water fountain, and I think that even though it's probably meant for parks, it would definitely fit in nicely to this house. And I think with every celebrity mansion that I do intend to do in the future, if I do more of these, then yeah, I'll probably do more houses with fountains like that. Maybe that will be a signature celebrity fountain. I have no idea, but I think that that would definitely be something that I would imagine to be in a big mansion like this, or at least outside it. So that's why I did it. I was doing the landscaping, but I was trying to make it look a little bit neater, and it always looks really messy, and that's because sometimes I rush it, but that is also because at the moment I've had something stuck in my mouth really strangely. And I've been trying to tap it out for a while, and I can't do it. I think it's like, I don't even know. I think it's like a bit of plastic or something that's got stuck in there from something I bought one time. And yeah, anyway, it's in there. I can't get it out. So sometimes when I'm doing landscaping like this and I'm actually putting the soil in, it can look really wonky. But I'm going to say that's not my fault. I'm going to put it down to my mouse. So there we go. But anyway, this was the part where I was doing the daisies. I thought daisies would look really nice for a build, and I don't usually use daisies, so I thought for this build it would look really cool, so I did that. And I wanted a garden area which would take up a lot of space. It was really just finding things to fill up the amount of crazy space I was left with, because let's face it, there is so much space here. I had no idea what I wanted here because there was just so many options, but I decided on having a flower garden. And this was a secret garden bit, which actually took me quite a long time to do because I wanted to make it just right, and I really wanted it to remind me of Taylor Swift. And it might not remind everybody of Taylor Swift, but I think it's important when I'm building something like this to have my own take on it, and that is my own take on it. Now, this was a really interesting area because this was where we have this fence glitch, and it's really odd, but it does happen sometimes. And if somebody's watching this that is related to the Sims team, etc. on the glitch lookout, then yeah, it's pretty annoying, I have to say. And I don't know, I would love it to be fixed. It's been happening for a really long time though. I mean, it's one of those things that if you put a fence down, the only way that you can fix that glitch is if you restart your whole computer or restart the game. I think restarting a computer is a little bit dramatic there, but anyway, that's what I felt like I had to do, and I, in the end, just put around the bushes and I had to leave it entirely, which wasn't a big deal, but it can be a big deal if you want a specific fence in the right place. It was lucky for me because I can just put the bushes there and bushes are bushes, but if it's an actual fence, then yeah, it could definitely be a problem. Now in the garden here, I did use a lot of the romantic stuff pack items. And that's because I love them. I am legitimately in love with these items. I absolutely adore them. And I don't know if anybody else feels like this about the stuff pack, but I hated it at first and now it's my ultimate favourite. I can't build without it. That's how I feel. I actually feel like if I had to build without it, in fact I built a base game not long ago, Beryl's base game home, and for that I didn't use anything. It was just a base game house, and I really missed this stuff. Honestly, I did. And I think when I go away on holiday and stuff, and maybe if I can't build on The Sims 4 for some time, I think it's the stuff pack. I think it's a romantic stuff pack which I'm starting to miss, just because I love the pretty flowers in it, and that's something that just is really nice to me and I love it. So I'm definitely happy we got that, and I am really looking forward to future stuff packs which are coming out, which of course have been announced. Well, at least one of them has. A stuff pack and a game pack have been announced. But I'd love to know what you think in the comments below if you're looking forward to them, and if you are, what would you like to see in them? Because I don't think that every single item has been released yet, or at least we don't know everything that's going to be in there. So some of it will be a surprise, but it's still really interesting to find out what you want to see in it and what you're expecting, etc. Because a lot of the time when I think about things I'd like to see, and sometimes when I mention them in my videos, it's because somebody said them to me before and I thought to myself, that is a really good idea and I love that. And in fact, I was watching Iron Seagull's video and he was saying about a restaurant stuff pack, and I'm honestly certain that that man predicts absolutely everything that's going to happen in The Sims 4, and it's usually right. I was watching it and I was thinking, that is really specific. I don't know if we'll get a restaurant pack, and there we go, we've got a restaurant pack. So yeah, I'll leave his links below if you want to go and see his reviews or predictions and stuff, because it's actually really handy and that's where I get my predictions from, and that does sometimes tell me about what is going to be happening in The Sims 4, so that's really interesting. But anyway, this was when I was finishing off the garden here and I was putting in the final plants, etc. There are a lot of trees in this build, and I apologise if you don't like trees. I've never met a person that doesn't like trees. In fact, I do have a little bit of a phobia of trees. In a strange way, I'm really scared of tall trees, and if I'm standing underneath them, that's when it can get a little bit frightening for me. But anyway, that is the end of the build, so I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you all part 2. Thank you so much for watching, and I will speak to you all soon.